All right, so we're going to be talking about The Inn in the Forest. This is a DCC adventure by Daniel Bishop. It's for levels 1 to 2, and the company's name is Trusty Sword. So this was a Kickstarter, and I'm going to be spoiling everything that's in this adventure, so don't watch it if you might play in it. And so here we go. It is available in PDF on Ttrpg, links in the description. I don't know if it's going to be available for print on demand, but it definitely won't have this thick paper that this book has. That's why it kind of bows here, because the paper is very thick and it's a very good quality. Here's the back, and it's got a lot of new stuff. Creatures, magic items, equipment, new spells, rituals, there's pre-gen characters, and then it's got this new phantom shift rules for time travel. So very interesting adventure. And when I first read it, I was kind of like, oof, I don't know exactly what's going on. I'm trying to get my head around this. It's a little bit different. And what I could tell you is it obviously has some really good art, and it's got a very good vision of what it's trying to do. And if you're going to run this as a judge, you need to really understand that vision. And it's going to take a little bit of work from you and to set up the tone of the adventure. It's got a great table of contents here. And give that to your players and the characters. So it says judges should read this adventure carefully before playing, as what happens in it in the past affects the present, what happens in the present affects the future. And on occasion, items and characters can be permanently moved between time periods. So you're like, oof, this sounds very complex, you know? You're like, whoa, I'm gonna have to do some work here on this. But it's all well and good. It's not that hard. It's not that crazy. There is some rules for making it a funnel, and the adventure background is very easy. Pretty much you've got an innkeeper and his wife. They have an inn, obviously, and they kidnap lone travelers to give them to these monsters for gold and gems. But the cave that they used for these transactions was once an old worship site for an ancient race of humans, long gone from the lands, and they woke up a slumbering spirit. The ancients call it Diacoil. I guess that's how you say it, and I might butcher tons of these names because there are some doozies in here. But he calls it the Waldgeist, or Waldgeist, I'm not sure. But his name is Adelard, and he's going to be your main antagonist in this adventure. It says, soon enough, blood sacrifices began once more. The Forest Inn became a shunned house, as he paid for the immortality promised him and his family by the wood spirit. So he's promised immortality. And in essence, it's changing who he is. It's changing his physical being. The inn's last customer entered these doors 2 decades ago, and still the partially transformed Adelard seeks 3 more victims to complete his bargain with the Waldgeist and become his transformation, make his transformation complete. There's some adventure hooks on how to get you there. Not a whole bunch, but they're going to get you there. And then you've got some more of the great art. I love the art, but you know, you look at this page, I looked at it, I was like, what the hell is this? And this guy, and pigs, is this like a fairy tale? What is going on? So this is him and his family, and they've all been turned into these pig people, humanoids. And it's going to give you the information for all these creatures that are in there. Really people that have been transformed. They're, in essence, changelings. These are the Erdmunen, is what I guess their names are. They're thanes and there's thralls. And they seek slaves to work in their mines, and they're also kind of a bad guy that's involved in it. But throughout, you're going to have some people that are, and I'll be showing you some more about them, that are patrons of the past that stayed at the inn, and they'll be involved in the adventure as well. There's also some kind of normal creatures out in the woods, wild wolves, wolfhounds, but there's also this forest root guardian that kind of plays an interesting kind of antagonist role, and its location is kind of unknown, and the judge needs to kind of keep it where it moves secret. And then you've got the Waldgeist itself, and it's not really an NPC, it says. It's more of a spirit. It's an active adversary of the PCs. Kind of like a presence about the place. Great piece of art here. Love it. So it says setting the tone. Very important part. And I'm not really going to get into much of the actual meat of this adventure because that could really bog this down. But what I want to let you know, this is an extremely important section here, setting the tone. You have these things called phantom shifts in the adventure. And what they are is, I see them as, and it's very obvious to recognize what they are. These are glimpses of the past that remind you of a horror movie like Insidious or Conjuring, or any movie that's had spirits kind of showing you what happened to them. And the players are going to interact with some of these, and some of these things might interact with the players. So they have a different type of categories, different phantom shifts do, that are less important or more important, and how long they stay around, and can they interact with the players or not. And it's going to explain all those things to you, but it's the ultimate part of this adventure is these phantom shifts. So I like this, let the tension build. It pretty much tells you if they want to joke, if the players want to joke, you know, don't stop them, but also don't encourage it. Be very serious to help build up that tone, the tension that hopefully the players will feel. Say things once, that'll make them hang on your every word. That way it's a little bit spookier. And again, it's going to build up that tension. Try to split the party so that certain players and their characters see certain phantom shifts where the others don't. And then provide no safe harbor. There's no place to rest in this adventure. There's no place to retreat. And they can die because of their inaction. Not just bad dice rolls and weapons against their face, but their actual actions of the adventure. They can't run away because the forest will in essence keep putting them back in here, and they'll realize that they're pretty much in a damned place. And then if they try to burn down the house, that'll also be very detrimental to themselves, probably ending in their deaths. So how you start off, and then you're going to get into the phantom shifts encounters. So there's kind of random, very small ones, and they're on a grade system of like grade 1 is like an impression. You can hear kind of like the rowdy singing in the tap room, but it sounds like it's as if at great distance. You can hear beer mugs striking the table. And so these are things that happened in the past because the inn is very dilapidated. It's very old. And so you're going to hear and see these remnants of the past. And so you're going to get different type of random ones of these, very small things that happen. But then you're going to get the stories of the past. So these are going to involve patrons that were actually in the inn 20 to 30 years ago, possibly, and how their stories, because each one kind of has a little story, a little bit of drama that happened to them, and how that's going to be, that information is going to be given to the players and their characters. Through maybe a smell, actually seeing someone, almost like a ghost. And it's going to really kind of blur the line between what's happening in the present and what happened in the past. Galfried, the rake, he's going to be one of them. You might hear like the sound of a rapier being drawn. He pretty much calls out anybody in the tap room to a duel. And they're going to get gradually a little bit in these phantom shifts, a little bit more involved. And so you're going to roll kind of, you could possibly roll on these, or, see exactly what's going on with these different phantom shifts. Here's one involving two people in love with a minstrel. So it's a great way to, like these things here, the Altabalder. I don't know, I'm probably butchering that. But this is that ancient race, so it's going to give you that information in the form of these phantom shifts. And then some of these people are actually, you're going to be able to talk to them and get some information, like Eckhard here, a little bit about the past. And they might actually try to help you in your present. And this guy here who has been walled up, Zalber, the Hexmaster. And he also has a clockwork dragon, which I think is pretty neat. And so there's going to be ways for them to help, because the main thing that's going to happen in this adventure is this feeling of forebodingness and almost like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre type feel, where the innkeeper, he's been changed into this huge hulking boar man. He might be trying to stalk you, and you might hear his footsteps. They're going to be, and he's going to be a really terrible foe for the players to come up across. And so you want to give this notion that there's a great kind of doom that's happening around them. And you get glimpses of the dark future, in essence, attempting it's visions of what might happen. And the shifts 1 through 4 should occur in order over the course of the adventure. And every PC should experience at least one of these. And so it's going to show you like a wilder wood, the forest in the inn. Ghostly trees appear, rising from saplings of great giants through the floorboards, as though the growth of decades has occurred in mere seconds, not from the primal hours of humanity's dawn, but you somehow know these spectral woods arises instead from the promise of humanity's end, a future in which the forest again rules a world silent save the cries of hunting beasts and their prey. So you're going to see like it pretty much be consumed by the forest. So these are very interesting and kind of giving a dark vision of what the future is going to be. And this number 5 one is going to be very bad. That's when he's been able to completely achieve full apotheosis and become the pretty much semi-divine changeling that he's trying to become. So again, great piece of art there. And then you're going to have kind of your random breakdowns of the exterior of the place, maybe some daytime encounters with boars, thralls of the Erdmonen, maybe some of the children, the changelings, the Shellgeber as they're known. They may joke and taunt you from the woods, and then you've got nighttime encounters, and then you've got areas of the map that you're going to break down. And this is a big meaty section of it, of kind of a normal, you know, dungeon crawl in this inn, but it's going to be places. There's going to be places in here for you to be able to show them those phantom shifts. You've got the sign of the inn there, the upper floor. Again, I'm a big fan of the art. I think it looks great. And fully fleshed out here, the cellar is where that Hexmaster is with his Zauber, the Hexmaster with his clockwork dragon. So you're going to have a tunnel, and it's going to lead to the cave where the Vaultgeist's shrine is. And so hopefully the players will continue on through encountering these phantom shifts, as well as this root guardian that's trying to stop them as well. Here's a section on the stable, which is obviously another building. Again, I'm a big fan of the art. And there's going to be normal kind of event, like encounters in here with these wolfhounds, giant blacks, widow spiders, and obviously giving you hints and, you know, teases of what happened to this place. And then, of course, the end of the adventure is once he is slain, the innkeeper. He's called the Ebersash. And if he gains a third sacrifice, actually killing the PCs, the 5th phantom, the glimpse of the dark future phantom shift is going to happen, and it's probably going to end up with all the players dead. So here's, it says squeezing it dry. This is ways to make the adventure a little bit harder, or maybe to change it if you want to play it a different way. And then you're going to have your Beastiary here with all your different information, and the main changeling, the Ebersash, in different, like the way his form is. And you've got like his wife and his kids, and then like if his wife becomes semi-divine, here she is. If he becomes semi-divine, meaning that they've gotten a couple more sacrifices of PCs, and there is a way to kind of replenish the PCs in a certain area of the inn. The Clockwork Dragon, Deer, the Duelist Guide kind of gives you a basic information for him. And then the strange Cyclopean purple humanoids with dark blue limbs, whose fingers and toes are so dark as to be almost black. And they live underground. Here's the Hexmaster, the Root Guardian, and some of the slavers, typical humans from back in the past. So very interesting there. Spiders, Tree Spirit, Wood Wolves, the Wolfhounds. You got magical items here. His Boar Spear is pretty nasty. Some things that the characters might be able to get, as well as this milk. You've got Sal's unsavory milks, and they're brewed from her own milk and other bodily fluids. Herbs from the forest, and the potency that becoming a changeling granted her. And they're all magically potent, and they do obviously different effects. And so you get to more information about the phantom shifts, the different grades of them being an impression, a glimpse, an overlay. Pretty much figures from the past seem to be living beings. Images from their past may overlay the present so that a collapsed floor may appear to be safe. There's a 1 in 5 chance that the overlay is strong enough that the PCs can treat the images as though they are real. Certainly other beings and creatures can be touched, although not enough to cause damage. Grade 3 phantom shifts can manipulate objects in the PC's timeline. So they're obviously much stronger. And then 4 is where the 2 times merge, where they're pretty much linked together. It says figures in the shift can harm the PCs and vice versa. However, it's important to remember that the past cannot be changed through a phantom shift. So that's obviously very interesting. And then 5 is capture. Not only did the two times merge, but the creatures and objects from one time and place are captured, becoming stuck in the other time and place. The same strictures from about changing the past apply and attempting to force a paradox may be the only way to end the phantom shift and return the PC's original time and place. And it explains here more about how to use them. There's a complete write-up here for the Waldgeist as a patron with a lot of different spells that it has, and spell burn, obviously. So you've got these, and then you've got these rituals. Pretty much the ritual here of how to become this apotheosis, and you become a changeling through the Waldgeists. Even though you're not really becoming immortal, it's pretty much just changing your physical form. So here's a couple more of these different rituals. And then you've got the Kickstarter backers, and here are some great NPCs with awesome art for them to start you in this adventure. I like this guy with his little mask on there, that thief. So, and then you've got a way to keep track of the phantom shifts in the different ones, maybe some notes, which PCs were involved in them and which shift it was. And then, of course, keep a track of the glimpse of the dark future as well as the random shifts. So that's the back cover right there. So overall, I think it's a very interesting adventure. I think it might not be for everybody, but I think if you do the hard work of understanding the way that the phantom shifts work, place them out accordingly, really hype up the tension and the horror aspect of the adventure, it's going to be a great time. And just got to really make sure that the players understand what they're seeing. They may, you may get some interesting reactions from them, not really understanding what's going on. They can see some things, and I think some of the random ones, like hearing the bar room and stuff like that, it's going to give them a bit of information. Say, hey, we're actually getting stuff from the past, and that's going to help them kind of understand whenever all of a sudden, there's someone just standing there and they don't understand that that's not their present time, but it's the past. So I think it's a very neat adventure. Again, I love the art in it. Again, it was one that when I first read it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll do a video about this. I've got to really do some work here. And it is difficult to really kind of put your head, around it to figure it out. But if you do the work and understand it, I think you'll have a great adventure with it. So there it is. Check it out. The PDF is down in the links in the description if you want to give it a look. And yeah, good luck with those names and keeping it all together. But it shouldn't be too hard if you give it, you really focus on it. I think you'll have a lot of fun. So there it is. Thanks a lot. The Inn in the Forest.